Hi, my name is Kieran Fitzpatrick. I'm the author and presenter of the Introducing Hypnotherapy training course. This course is written for anyone who has an interest in mental health or who may even be facing their own mental health challenges. If you're already a therapist, it's an introduction to the hypnotherapeutic approach to common mental health issues and how these extra skills might help you in your own practice. A certificate will be awarded to everyone on completion. Although this initial foundation course is not a qualification or an endorsement to practice professionally, the material contained will help you to understand how your own and others' minds work, what happens when there are problems, and what can be done to relieve or even resolve typical mental health issues. Although the material is simplified so that anyone can understand it, the knowledge taught is of a professional standard, so that this course is also the first step in becoming a qualified clinical hypnopsychotherapist if that's something that you're considering. So join me now as I take you through an overview of this training in the format in which it's presented and delivered online. This is Kieran Fitzpatrick, and I'm just going to take you through a quick summary of the online Introducing Hypnotherapy training course. This is a 6-module online training. Now, it's also the online portion of a foundation certificate course in hypnotherapy and psychotherapy. And what this means is that although the information is in plain English and in a way that everybody can understand, it's of a professional standard and delivered professionally. So, as I said, there's 6 modules. We look at each one in turn here very quickly. And module 1 is simply an introduction to hypnosis. So what's in this module? Well, there's 3 lessons, as there is in most of these modules, and module 1 is basically a definition and an explanation of what hypnosis is, so that at the end of this lesson you'll be clearly able to explain to somebody what hypnosis is and how it works. In lesson 2 then, we look at hypnosis in terms of hypnotherapy, when we combine hypnosis with psychology and we produce hypnotherapy, and then we look at when it can be used. And in lesson 3 then, we'll answer some of the common questions people have about hypnosis and hypnotherapy, and we'll correct some of the common misconceptions there are about it. Most people's idea of what hypnosis is and hypnotherapy comes from movies and stage shows and is actually incorrect. So at the end of this, you'll be able to correct people's misconceptions and answer any questions they might have for you on hypnosis. So then we move on to module 2, where we start to look at the psychology. As I said, hypnotherapy is the combination of psychology, knowledge of psychology and hypnosis. And in this module, we're going to look at some of the things that are important to know before we even start. The main thing will be the difference between neurosis and psychosis. We'll define both of these terms so that you'll have an understanding of them and an understanding as to why this knowledge is important. So in lesson 1, we're going to focus on psychosis. And then in lesson 2, we'll focus more on neurosis, because this is an area that, as a lay person, whether as a therapist or a friend or family member, we're actually able to help people. Then in lesson 3, we're going to look at what's called the mind-body connection. And this is basically how our thoughts, how our emotions can have a physical effect on us, and how many physical symptoms have their roots in our emotions and our feelings. Then in module 3, we're going to look at what we call the subconscious mind. People want to learn about how their mind works, and the majority of what's going on in our heads at any time is going on subconsciously. So it's very important to have an understanding of our subconscious mind. And the majority of times where we're able to help somebody with a problem, it's by being able to access their subconscious and make changes there. So in lesson 1, we'll explain what we mean by the subconscious mind, what it is. Then we're going to, in lesson 2, compare the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. It'll be very interesting for you to see the differences and the relative power of both parts of our mind, because our subconscious mind is by far the more powerful part. Then in lesson 3, we're going to look at what we call the rules of the subconscious mind. Now, these will give us an insight into how our subconscious mind works. And when we know how something works, we can better understand what's happening when it's not working and what we can do to repair that. That brings us on then to module 4, which is about hypnotherapy, which is one way of helping people to repair problems in their own mind. And in this module, we're going to look at the question, what is hypnotherapy? And at the end of this module, you'll be able to answer that question. The first thing you'll learn is that there's two main types of hypnotherapy. And in lesson 1, we look at the first one, which is called suggestion hypnotherapy or suggestion therapy. And that's the form of hypnotherapy that most people will experience if they've ever experienced hypnotherapy. It's also the kind of effect and approach that people would think of when they think of hypnotherapy. It's addressing the symptoms and, in essence, trying to make them go away. In lesson 2, we're going to look at the other main type of hypnotherapy, which is called analytical hypnotherapy. And this is more about getting to the roots of problems than dealing with the symptoms individually. If we get to the root of a problem and we resolve it, the symptoms will dissolve themselves very quickly. Now, we don't go into analytical hypnotherapy too much in this training. We do in subsequent and later trainings, as it's a little bit more complex and there's a lot more psychology involved. Then in lesson 3, we look at what can be treated using hypnotherapy, and you'll be surprised at the range of things that can be helped with hypnotherapy. So in order to use hypnotherapy, we need to know how to hypnotize somebody. So this brings us on to module 5 about hypnotic induction. And that term means bringing somebody into hypnosis. Now, when I use that phrase, you notice I don't say hypnotizing somebody, because hypnosis is always a voluntary thing. You'll have learnt this in the earlier modules, and it's always a cooperative thing between the hypnotist and the subject. So when we look at what's in this module, in lesson 1, the first thing we look at is when not to hypnotize somebody, when it's not a good idea, people who aren't suitable, when it's not a suitable situation. But when it is, then we look at what we call pre-hypnosis conditioning. And this is basically preparing yourself and the person to bring on hypnosis. Part of that will be assessing your client's susceptibility, which means seeing how well suited they are to hypnosis and how well suited their problem is, and also what approach you will use to help them with hypnosis. Then in lesson 2, we look at the various types of hypnotic inductions, the various ways of helping to bring somebody into a hypnotic trance. Now, a lot of these involve physical aspects, physical components, and are better done in a live training on a face-to-face basis. But in lesson 3, we're going to look at one hypnotic induction called progressive relaxation, which you can learn online and which you can begin to practice and become proficient at. Once you've learned how to bring somebody into hypnosis, into an hypnotic trance, a deep state of relaxation, I'll teach you ways then to deepen that trance, to deepen their relaxation, because the more relaxed our subject or our client is, the more effective our suggestions and any other techniques we use within hypnosis are going to be. Now in this module, instead of the usual 3 lessons, we've 4 lessons, because having brought somebody into hypnosis, it would be good to know how to take them back out of it. And the technical term for this is trance termination. So we look at ways of bringing people back out of hypnosis comfortably, safely and easily. And also in this 4th lesson, we'll just have a look at some of the cautions, some of the things to be aware of, and some of the precautions to take when you're going to use hypnosis. Then in module 6, we look at something called the power of suggestion. Now, what suggestion is what we use when we have somebody in hypnosis. It's the way we phrase things, it's the way we put things that can bring about beneficial change. We've already used suggestion in module 5 to bring on hypnosis. We didn't fully realize that, but in this module you'll begin to understand suggestion, how it works and how we use it even in everyday life even better. So in the first lesson we're going to define suggestion technically as to what we mean by suggestion. Suggestion can include things like metaphors, and we look at how these and other suggestions work. In lesson 2 then, we're going to talk about post-hypnotic suggestions. So these are the kind of things that people are most familiar with. This is a suggestion given under hypnosis, but that we want to take effect subsequently after hypnosis. We look at direct and indirect suggestions, what they are, and we look at technically how to phrase, how to form, how to make successful and effective suggestions. Now, there's various ways of doing this, and in lesson 3 I'll be giving some tips on how to form these successful suggestions, ways that'll shortcut it for you so that in each case you've got a framework in which to create suggestions for various different people. Then what we need to be able to do is to eliminate unwanted suggestions. Now these could be ideas, thoughts, feelings, beliefs that somebody has that are causing their problems, and while we have them in hypnosis we can eliminate them for them. These can also include suggestions we use while somebody's in hypnosis, but that we don't want to become post-hypnotic suggestions. And also in this lesson, we look at how to clearly define what we're trying to achieve, whether that's defining the problem the person has that they no longer wish to have, or whether it's defining some skill, some ability, some outcome that they want in the future, but they don't yet have. So that's basically the 6 modules of the Introducing Hypnotherapy course. Now, what I've also done is added a free bonus module. And this bonus module is teaching you how to use hypnosis to help people to quit smoking. This is something that people regularly think of when they think of hypnosis. It could be a question you'd be asked if you said you knew hypnosis or knew how to hypnotize people. And so at the end of this, you'll have that skill. You'll have the ability to help somebody to quit smoking. Now, like all the times we deal with people and we use hypnosis or hypnotherapy, the first thing we need to do is to make sure they're a suitable candidate. And so what we have here, and what you'll get included, is what we call the Quit Smoking Initial Consultation. Now, this is basically a conversation where you assess the person, you find out a lot about them, not just about themselves and their smoking habit, but other background knowledge to check, are they suitable and are you a suitable person to work with them. Now, once you've figured that out, I'll show you ways of formulating your quit smoking suggestions for that person, because each person is different, and using the tips from the previous module, you'll be able to create a script that you can use within the hypnotherapy session to help this person to be a non-smoker in the future. And to help you with all of that, there's some written materials included also. So there we have it. That's a quick overview of the Introducing Hypnotherapy training. As I said, it's a 6-module online training course, and at the end of it you'll have a great knowledge of hypnotherapy and a lot about psychology and how our mind works. As I said, this course is designed for people whether they've just an interest in how the mind works, an interest in mental health or psychology, or they're looking at maybe becoming a hypnotherapist themselves. Within these 6 modules, there's 20 individual lessons. There's 4 hours of video presentations. As I said, there's some written notes, there's some forms, and there's some scripts included. And at the end, then you've got this free bonus module teaching you how to use hypnosis to help somebody quit smoking. I mean, this is usually a separate training given separately to actual hypnotherapists. So you're getting this thrown in at the end, and it's something you'll be able to do once you're finished. So as I said, whether you just have an interest in the mind and how it works, or you want to take the first step towards becoming a qualified clinical hypnotherapist, sign up and join me now. Have a look at this. I think you'll find it very, very interesting. As I said, there's a lot of material in there. And if you know anybody else who might be interested, tell your friends. Hopefully I'll talk to you soon.